business news. We're going to take a look at what's grabbing the headlines, not just here in France, but around the world. Florence Villeminot is here to talk us through the international press. We're starting with that report from Turkey, the suicide bombing in Suruç near the Syrian border.
That's right. It's a huge story in the Turkish press. Hurriyet is focusing on the man who carried out that suicide bombing. Now, he's been identified as a 20-year-old Turkish student. You can read all about it all over the Turkish papers. Really, this is the English language version of Hurriyet. Now, he reportedly was radicalized in a tea house run by his brother, a tea house that Turkish authorities say was used by the Islamic State group to recruit followers. You can see here Hurriyet Daily News saying that police are still trying to confirm this link with ISIS, but it's definitely something that they're expecting.
Well, there's a rise in tensions across in Turkey even more after the shooting on Wednesday. 2 Turkish police officers were killed.
That's right, and the military wing of the outlawed Kurdistan Workers' Party, the PKK, has claimed responsibility for that attack. You can read about it once again here in Hurriyet Daily News. Now, the PKK says that this was a revenge attack, a punitive action in revenge for that massacre in Suruç. The PKK accuses the Turkish police of actually cooperating with ISIS. Now, it's interesting to see that Turkish authorities are really coming under fire in the wake of that suicide bombing when they're not accused of all-out cooperation with the Islamic State group. They're criticized for not doing enough to really secure the border with Syria, for making it too easy for Islamists to pass back and forth. And also, Turkish authorities are coming under fire for not doing enough to help Kurdish forces in Syria that are fighting against the Islamic State group. You can see The Independent talking about this major backlash that the President Erdogan is facing. I also pulled a cartoon out of Al Watan, that's a Saudi paper, which shows just what a headache ISIS is becoming for Turkish authorities. You can see here this this ISIS fighter setting the traditional Turkish hat, the tarbush, on fire. This could become really a major headache for Turkish authorities.
Let's move on to some other news now. US President Barack Obama is gearing up for a trip to his father's birthplace, the first since he became president in 2009.
That's right. This is, of course, Kenya. Barack Obama is a superstar in Kenya. That's an understatement. If you take a look at the Kenyan papers today, the Daily Nation, for instance, comes back on his presidency. Obama's bold policies have had a great positive impact in the U.S. and abroad. Glowing words you rarely see in the U.S. media, in fact. And if we take a look at the editorial in the Daily Nation today, they go even further. He's a good man, a good father, a good husband, a good and a rare politician. We should learn from Obama's life and change the way we conduct our politics here in Kenya. Welcome to Kenya, Mr. President. The Daily Nation says that we need 10 Obamas in Kenya to move our country forward.
Crikey, a glowing review there. How are papers outside of Kenya reacting to this?
Well, The Independent has a good summary of just how symbolic this visit is for Kenya. You can see they liken it to the return of the prodigal son. But can he bring change to Kenya? Now, the president is expected to ask some awkward questions to Kenyan authorities during his visit, questions about corruption, about terrorism. Then there are issues about human rights as well, gay rights. It's a very hot button issue, not only in Kenya, but in Africa in general. Homosexuality is illegal in 34 African countries, including Kenya, even though gays are tolerated in Kenya. Now, Obama has voiced his support for gay rights issues and is a symbol of hope for many homosexuals in Kenya, according to The Independent. But lots of anti-gay activists are afraid that he's actually going to push for what they call the gay agenda during his visit.
Okay, and we'll finish up with a word about American teenagers.
That's right. Stephen and I had a great time talking about this this morning. I'm going to quote the iconic 90s hip-hop trio Salt and Pepper. We're going to talk about sex, baby. This is a new report by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. It's getting a lot of attention in the American media today. You can get a sneak peek at the results here. The results are really quite surprising. These are these sex habits and contraceptive use of American teenagers. Well, more and more American teens are waiting to have sex. Now, this is in comparison to figures from the 80s. Less than half of teenagers older than 14 say that they have already had intercourse, so a real big drop from the 80s when over 50% had already had sex. Why are American teenagers having less and less sex? Well, you can find some answers in the Washington Post. The most popular reason is still religious beliefs or morals. But one theory that's gaining popularity is that teenagers are too busy messing with their smartphones. Now, this is not only a source of distraction for teenagers, it's also a source of information. And the Washington Post says that smartphones allow teenagers to privately look for information about sexual health and about risks, and this information puts a lot of them off sex. Now, there's some very positive consequences of all this. First of all, teenage pregnancies are down, and a lot of this has to do with the fact that a majority of teenagers now are using protection.
Oh, good news then. Thanks very much for that. Flo Villeminot bringing us the review of the international press.